Hi, I'm Ted Sowards from the viral recreation of a Goofy movie After Today Live, and you are watching Randomonium.
Hey, everybody. My name is Cory. We are here with a good friend of mine. His name is Ted. Ooh, I should have asked before we got here. Here's the drum roll.
Uh,
Sowards.
yeah, you got it.
I
Yeah.
am so glad your name is spelled right there. Otherwise, this would not have happened. All right. I am here with Ted Sowards. If you haven't heard of him, you've at least seen what he's created on the internet. I want to say the first video he created that went viral, or even the first video he put out, was 2009? Question
yeah,
mark.
yeah, you have a great memory. Yeah. The one that
Yeah.
truly went viral. Yeah, it was
Yeah. After
2009.
today, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We're gonna
No,
get there, but we're gonna back up a little bit. I am here with a filmmaker. You know what? Let's have him tell you. Ted, take it.
um, yeah, I have a YouTube channel and I make videos, but I don't know if I could really call myself a YouTuber because like a YouTuber like uploads videos like every week or
Sporadically.
every month. And I
Right.
kind of only upload videos when I think it's going to last the test of time. I only make a video when I feel it.
When do you feel it? Like, has there been a video you made and you're just like, I'm not putting it out there? Or is it the videos you put out there are the ones you're like, I'm taking my time, I'm doing it, and it's out?
Yeah, usually if I won't get past like the pre build the pre stages until it is like, yeah, we are going to finish this one till it's good and we'll take our time on it. Like we'll hold like with After Today, we held it for like 6 months before we were like, yep, this is good.
Wow. Was that your first foray into anything film, CGI, green screen, or what?
I did little things just kind of here and there. I made a video like 5 years before that of where the postman is stealing two Mormon missionaries' love or mail, and that was kind of an intro into like really diving deep into it. We used some green screen effects on there, but you know, like it was After Today that we would have to sit down in a group and be like, how are we gonna do that? And it was a lot of fun just brainstorming and just coming up with it things.
Yeah. How did you land on After Today? What was the whole idea behind doing it? Obviously, it's been a while since I've watched it, but there's a blurb in the beginning that talks a little bit about it. But I want to hear it from you.
There's a part of me that wishes I could edit that blurb out. I don't know why I watch it and I'm like, ugh, but we really were just young kids at the time, just wanting to do a big video, and all of us loved a Goofy movie. We were actually looking beyond the mark at first. Like we were like, what about Aladdin? And we're like, how are we going to do the genie? Or we were looking into just different ones. And we're like, these are all out of our reach. And then we usually rewatch a Goofy movie once a year, and we were sitting there and it came on and we were like, we could do this one. Yeah, like it's just a kid walking to school, and it'll be so easy. Like we could do this, and
True.
we're all of us were already in love with the movie, and so it was just this natural passion pouring into it.
Who was the one that was like, let's do it, let's storyboard it? Because I've seen your behind the scenes where you're all sitting on the couch. I'm not going to lie to you. I've seen that a few times, but I've seen After Today live more times than I think I should admit, because it's just so well done. And it's just
Yeah.
like there's little details like in the behind the scenes you talk about the belly button, how you guys wanted to make sure she had that skin tight like leotard lyrica thing so you couldn't see a belly button, how you had to do certain things with certain things about the bus and the permits, and that's a lot of work for somebody who's not getting paid for it.
Yeah, and that we didn't even own a camera. Like, yeah,
Right.
it was my friend Tim's sister's wedding company that she worked for. It was their camera. So like we'd have to call them up and be like, "Hey, are you guys doing a wedding this weekend?" They'd say, "No, we're not." "Okay, can we have the camera?" And it was back in the day, it was like a 720p camera, and the card on it was like this big, and you had to like slide it in. And
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
really early, um, full digital camera. And so, yeah, we didn't even have our own camera at first. And it was just, it still blows me away. When I watch it, I'm like, none of us had like Hollywood experience. We were just wanting to do something big. And yeah, so like I was the one who first said, yeah, let's do this one. This is the one we can do. And like every time we'd sit there and we'd go through every shot. That's like, usually when you're going to create a original video, you storyboard everything out. We were lucky. We could just take the frames of every shot
Exactly.
and add it to a storyboard. And we'd have our shot list and everything. Like it was kind of cheating and easy, but we'd go through and like this one is like cartoon physics, and we'd sit there and be like, how do we achieve that? And like there's the one shot where Roxanne is walking in front of the window, and the her reflection would be directly behind her to the camera's view, but it's off centered. And so yeah, we had to come up with like, how do we do that? And it was like my youngest brother Vaughn that was like, well, what if the green screen's behind us, the camera, and that she's up in front of a mirror that's angled, and then it clicked. Like that scene just clicked. Like it was just this brainstorming of ideas of people who had we none of us knew how to do anything, and just talking it out. We could figure things out.
I think the coolest part about watching like after today, and then obviously seeing your progression going forward, which we will get there, but it's a masterclass. It's honestly like watching the video, the behind the scenes, and then I forget if there's other things around after today, but it's a masterclass in video editing, science, physics, After Effects. A lot of the stuff that like people, I mean, especially back in 2009, we're trying to do. There's a lot of, if you look back at like 2009 YouTube, it's a lot of people with cameras and skateboards and just goofing off. But you guys took a lot of that and just put it together. And I think that is one of the coolest things about that experience and watching it now. Cause like I was thinking about this today. You could do that video now and do it faster.
And
Not just
yeah,
because you
way
have the
easier.
experience, not just because you have the experience, because it's easier and you have a lot more technology. Like you can use your phones and you can do this and you can get up and like, you could get the shot of, Kellen, right? Was the main guy?
Yeah, his name's Kellen.
I got my research. So
Yeah.
he like that shot of him jumping in front of the camera and then the birds. You could composite that, make two shots, get it done, do 2 different days, get bird wranglers, get permits. How much of the video was you getting real permits? Is there anything that you didn't say in the behind the scenes that you want to talk about? Like hardest parts, easiest parts, things that you look back now and go, we could have done that better, and things that you look back now and say they still hold up. Any of that answer? Any of that questions, if you want to take that.
Okay, there are things with that. Oh, one thing I want to jump back to, like the inception of it. One of the things that kind of got the idea of recreating it shot for shot is I had read somewhere, and I can't remember who the author is right now. There was some guy that wanted to write a novel, and he just wanted the experience of writing a novel. So he picked an existing novel and wrote it word for word on the typewriter just to see how that felt. Like sitting at a computer that long and seeing, so he retyped it all up word for word. And it was kind of like, okay, if we want to be good filmmakers someday, then let's do that with something existing that we admire and that is achievable. You got to start somewhere, and just to see how that feels. Like, what does a good storyboard layout look like? And just copying it into it, we got that feeling. We got like, okay, yeah, and then a shot list, and just yeah, because I had read somewhere that one man copied a novel word for word, and he just to have that experience.
Right. That's crazy.
So that was pretty interesting. When I watch it today, I of course I see all the mistakes, and like, okay, so like Star Wars makes additions, and I'm jealous. People complain about Ewoks blinking or whatever, but I'm jealous that like people care about that. Like if some movie that people have forgotten from a decade or two ago makes updates to their movie, no one's going to rewatch it. No one's going to care. But I watch After Today and I see all our flaws. Like we went to the high school that actually they say that Steven Spielberg went to this high school here in Phoenix. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's the shot where he comes out of the school, slides down the
Slides down the
banister,
railing.
slides down the railing, hits the
Right.
principal,
His hair flies
and
off.
the camera inside the shade was too dark and inside the sun was too bright. So we had to rotoscope out the shade so that we could overexpose that, bring up the exposure with that, but keeping the lit parts properly exposed.
Right.
And going down the banister, you can just see the mask of the rotoscoping just not on top of him at all. And I watch it and I'm like, ugh, I'd love to fix that.
Right.
But no one's gonna care. If I re-upload it, it's gonna start back at 0 views and no one will really care.
Right. But here's the thing, you also have different dubs of that video. So you could have easily have gone back and redid it and be like, oh, the Portuguese version is the real version, or the English or the Spanish or the Dublin or whatever you got is the real version.
And that blows my mind too. Like, so yeah, since it's a Disney movie, they dub it in like every language ever. And there came a point where I was like, I don't want to just keep re-uploading it as a new recording, new language. And people would message and say, hey, I have the Turkish files for it. Can I upload it? And I kind of was just like, yeah, go for it. You put your Turkish audio version of it on it and upload it. Like I eventually was like, yeah, you just do it. Like, and I think that's amazing that people would still reach out and be like, hey, I want it in my language. Can I? That blew my mind.
Right. So you get there, you shoot it. What was obviously you didn't think a little video in 2009 was going to blow up. I mean, if you did, that's cool. And if you didn't, then this is a great story and this is why you're here. But it's huge. It's massive. And we're going to get to why it's massive and how it led to whatever, the rest of your stuff. Because the stuff that you've done after this is just because like, if you hadn't started with After Today, you would not have ended up doing the other videos, which we will get to, because if people haven't seen your stuff, they are missing out. So you make the video, you get it out. Who do you show it to? What kind of feedback did you get? And then once it was out, was it instantaneous feedback? Because obviously 2009 was a different time for YouTube. It wasn't necessarily, wasn't necessarily creators yet. It was cat videos and prank videos and people fooling around with the camera, because that's what it was for me.
And yeah, it did not take off right away at first. And like, we would send it to people and it took, I could probably go into the stats, but it was like a few months, several months later that College Humor posted it. And that's when it just took off.
That's amazing.
So like we had moved on, where emotionally moved on from it going viral, like, and then College Humor, and they had uploaded it themselves. So all the views that got from it from College Humor, we don't even have that counted for. Like,
wow.
So College Humor at the time was huge and probably got millions of hits a day, and the YouTube video doesn't even count those.
Wow.
But that was the thing. And I'm not even sure who at College Humor like saw it and reposted it, but that was the kicker.
Wow. Did someone like, I don't remember if texting was, actually I do know if texting was around. Did someone like text you one day but like, hey, your video is like at this, go check it out? And you're like, wait, because obviously we're not always on our 2009. No one was glued to their phone as much as they are glued to their phones today. So like you were wherever you were at and they were like, hey, your video's at this. And you're like, wait a second, you like how was that going? Obviously you guys were all different places. Everybody involved was in different places. What was that like? Talk about the feeling, and then we're going to gradually walk into the next one. How did that progress into the next one?
yeah,
make you
like
want to
so
do the next one.
so like we had I had got a message one day. I don't remember who sent the message that was like, "Hey, your video's on College Humor. Go check it out." And like pull it up and like, wow, it's here, and all the comments that were on it. And then it bled over into YouTube because people still wanted to find it. And once it started going viral, that then like people would still message us and be like, "Hey, Slash Film put it on their site." And every site after that did like embed the YouTube one. And so that is really friendly. That is really nice. Like
Yeah.
Slash Film and like Comic Geek, a lot of comic book sites, cartoon
Right.
sites. All these people started posting it, and it was just this like validating moment, or to just watch it just start going.
Right.
And yeah, and it did lead into other things. So that's where like Disney Online, which is now Oh My Disney,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
they had reached out to us and said, hey, we'd like to talk to you. And we first were like, oh no, that it's probably like a lawyer
Cease and desist, right?
copyright wanting to like take us down or whatever. And but they're like, actually, we want you to come to California and we'll talk to you about making one for us. Because yeah, all of this was pretty early on.
Mm.
Um, like people weren't making videos like this for YouTube, and
Right.
so Disney was wanting to get into that and like making their own content that would go viral. And so my
Right.
brother, I think just my middle brother and I had drove over and met with them, and we got to go on the lot, and we got to explore. Like the guy
Wow.
gave us the full tour. It was super cool.
That's
Um,
crazy.
and they sat us down and they're like, "Hey, there's a show on Disney Channel right now. It's called Phineas and Ferb. Do you? We want you guys to recreate just like you did one of the scenes for this of that." And we were I didn't grow up with cable, so I didn't really know of it, but we had seen it on the hotel television the night before. And two friends were there with us, and she was like, "I love this show, it's the best show ever." And so when we got back to the hotel that night, we were like, "Hey, what was that one show? Can you show it to us?" And I got addicted to Phineas and Ferb.
It's a
Like,
good show. It's a really well written show.
it really is. It's written for all ages. Like everybody
Absolutely.
gets something out of it.
Right.
And that so that one they eventually fell through. They're like, well, we don't want to do it anymore. And we were under a 5-year agreement not to do it ourselves. And then the
Because I
show
was
was
gonna say,
ending.
I know what happens later.
The show was coming to an end, and we were like, hey, that when does our non-compete or whatever show
Right.
up? And it was like it had expired already, and we were like, oh well, let's do this then. The show's about to end. Let's make this. And
Right.
so that's how we got into like the doing the Gitchy Gitchy Goo.
Right.
um they wanted a different song. The Disney Online wanted a different song, but
Do you
we
remember what it was?
it was it's the library one, the Ain't Got
Uh,
Rhythm.
I was just gonna say because that's one of the ones that popped in my head too. That's a good song though.
It
That's a
is.
lot harder because of like the timing and the speed of that. That's a lot of remapping. That's a lot of work on your end. I'm glad you guys didn't do that one. But then again, Gitchy Gitchy Goo
Is
is a huge task.
with Ain't Got Rhythm, we were already in talks with like the neighboring city's public library was going to let us in 2 hours early before the public. It doesn't. It's a more modern library. It doesn't have like the gargoyle look and the
Right.
gothic look. But we were like, we'll make this work. And when they eventually like dropped the project and let it go, but Gitchy Gitchy Goo was revolutionary for us as well
Mm.
because like it's entirely green screen. We went to a basketball court early on Saturday mornings again, and um like no one filmed at the same time. Like Candace and Phineas filmed on different Saturdays. Ferb as well. was a different Saturday. The girl, the Fireside Girls, they are all filmed together, but they're not with the shots of with Phineas in the foreground. That's a two different Saturdays. And so we really grew and had experience of doing green screen work, and even I was working in like After Effects. I prefer Apple's Motion,
Okay.
but like we built like a 3D stage in a 2D thing. Like we you know, we were tilting it down. Like that entire stage is just like squares and stuff built inside of Motion. And I look back on that and I'm like, I would never ever do that today. I now know Blender. And
I tried Blender once, and I think that was 2010, 2000. It's hard. Especially if you don't know what you're doing. It looks like you can do it as long as you work at it, but I'm like, I don't got the patience for that.
It's true. And I started in Maya, and Maya was way more confusing.
Really?
And going to Blender, there was a little bit of a learning curve, but I was like, wait, this is actually easier than Maya.
Okay.
But now I would totally build that in a real 3D environment, and
with a camera and then
I look at Gitchy Gitchy Goo and I'm just blown away. I marvel at it. Like, how did we do this back then?
What year was Gitchy Gitchy Goo? Because we're gonna keep going forward. I can't remember.
That was okay. Luckily, I pulled it up. That was 2015.
Okay, so after Gitchy Gitchy Goo, how much time? What do you guys are doing in between this one and the next one? Any of the original people that worked on after today? How many people move forward on each of these projects with you?
Fewer. My brothers, me and my two brothers, we're always on each project because they can't leave me.
I mean, they can, but
they could.
They don't get the credit.
Many of the other friends got married and like moved away, or were serious in their careers of like dentistry or whatever they went into, so they couldn't have just like spare time. But even from after today, I got the job at the college I'm at right now. I'm actually still at work, but they saw my stuff on YouTube and called me up and said, hey, we would love for you to come work for us. So that was kind of nice, and I've been here ever since. But which actually, doing college work, video work all day, I get home and like I wouldn't be able to produce a video a week for YouTube. You'd have to make that your full-time job.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love doing this format. And I was talking to someone the other day. I wouldn't stick with this format. I do like maybe 1, 2, 3 of these, put them out between 3 weeks, and then try to find another format, whether it's doing green screen work or going somewhere and working on like a short and then uploading that sporadically. So I'd have like 1 or 2 things out a week and then do that every week. That's so much extra work. And I'm not at a position to be like, hey, let's quit my day job and do this. Because that's exactly where I want to be. Like, I interviewed Doug Jones. Like,
yeah.
That was I mean, don't get me wrong. I've interviewed people before. I've had videos up where I interview people. I've done interviewing before. So I've had experience, but like, he's huge.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And it's weird because first off, before I continue, what was after Gitchy Gitchy Goo? Because I'm going to segue between what I'm about to say.
Well, after Gitchy Gitchy Goo, we did the other Phineas and Ferb.
So you got to work with, was it Swampy or the other one? Dan Povenmire?
Dan Povenmire, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
With Gitchy Gitchy Goo, Dan Povenmire saw it, commented right on the video, and our minds exploded at that point.
Insane.
He commented
it's not
right
like
on
a publicist. It's not like an agent, because usually you get like, hey, great video, let me know what we can do. But it's not them. It's like someone that works for them, and it's just like, great. Like I've asked people to do it, and they're like, oh, you got to go through our, or their agent. You got to. We're not going to do that. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Exactly. Like, yeah, he's so down to earth.
He's so down to earth, and like, so then we got in touch on Twitter, because you used to be able to message each other on YouTube, but they stopped that. So we got in touch on Twitter, and he was like, yeah, if anything I can do for you guys, and so we let time pass, and we were like, you know, it'd be fun to do another one. And Busted came to mind. And we were like, do you think Dan would be in it? And we all kept being like, no, he wouldn't say yes. No, he's so busy. And
so before you continue, let's say he didn't say yes. Did you have an idea going forward? Did you have like a backup spot? Because like obviously, I'll be showing the video when we talk about it. You got him. You got him playing Doofenshmirtz. You got him playing his character. You got him probably doing the voice for you on the spot.
Yeah. And if he had said no, we just would have got someone else here in Phoenix to do them. But like, and that was the thing, is like, one friend kept saying the answer is always no unless you ask.
Point.
And so I finally like reached out to him on Twitter, and it was like a week or two, private direct message. A week or two had gone by with no reply, and I was like, okay, he's not interested. He's busy. And then all of a sudden he messaged back and was like, oh, sorry, I don't check this as often. Here's my personal email address. Message me here. I'm very interested in being in your guys' video. And like, we're doing backflips, like, I mean, if we physically could. We're like, no, wait, what? He said yes. Like, right. So then getting in touch with him, he was originally going to come to Phoenix, and we'd film in a basketball court, of course, because he was like, oh, I have friends there. I want to get in contact again. Then eventually he was like, hey, can you guys just come to LA? And he's like, I'll give you a tour of the animation studio. And we're like, okay, yeah, we'll come. Yeah. So,
check my bucket list. Let's go. That's crazy.
I'd rather drive over to California and get a tour of the studio.
Right. How far is California from Arizona?
It's a 6-hour drive from Phoenix to LA. No,
that's
not bad
at all.
Yeah. And so we went and got the tour. He was really cool. And he's like, we can't film it at the studio. And so we just went to his living room and set up a green screen in his living room. And
his personal house.
Yeah, like where he lives. Wow. And just in his living room. And he was kind of like, wait, it's this easy? And like we were putting it right into the frame at that moment. I was cleaning up the green screen, garbage masking and everything, putting it right in. And he was watching like, wait, it's that fast and easy? And we're like, yeah. I still watch like all of his shorts, and he's huge on TikTok now. And and then he ports them over to YouTube, and but he does a lot of green screening and other stuff. And I like to attribute the fact that we were the ones that gave him the idea that he could just do it at home.
Absolutely. There you go. Be proud of yourself, man. You did something.
Yeah. And he's super successful now, and he's just so fun to watch. He was so personable. Like,
absolutely.
Blew my mind at like how great he was.
We're still here, but what's the most surprising thing while doing these videos? Like, obviously it's that easy as one of them, but what's you've done what, 5 of these now? We're gonna get through them all, but I think you're at 5, done, right?
4 recreations, 2 Goofy Movie and 2 Phineas and Ferb.
Right.
And even with the other Goofy Movie one, so after doing Busted and it also taking off, Busted now is 6.8 million. I had to cheat. I had to look over. But we were like, so we had met the voice of Goofy before.
Right, because the story is, I'm going to retell it for you, but you were at a convention, his wife was at the table, and was like, wait, aren't you the guys that made that video? Let me go get my husband. And you were like, who the hell is this lady's husband? And then they brought you over, and you're like, wait, it's this guy. Correct?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Because that's the story.
Yeah. Like, well, we had worn After Today shirts, and we're walking around D23, and she saw them first and was like, you guys made that? Okay, I need to introduce you to my husband. She found my brother first and just was pulling him through the convention, dragging him, and he's like, wait, who's your husband? And she's like, my husband is the voice of Goofy. And we were like, and he was like, wait, Bill Farmer? And so he, while being dragged, gets on the phone, calls me, and is like, get downstairs now. And So that's how we met him, was just going to a convention that he was also at.
Right.
And he at the time was we were like, because so Goofy in After Today, we kept thinking about like, well, who should play Goofy, and like no one we could think of would be like lanky
Right, because
or
he's the only one and
qualify,
that
you know,
doesn't
to
change. Right.
yeah, like to really play Goofy. We couldn't really think of someone, and we wanted Bill Farmer at that time, but we
Mhm.
had no idea how to reach out to him at all.
Mhm. So
So
question. So backing up to After Today, because this is a good point that I believe you make in the behind the scenes feature that you guys did. But like the kiss of the cheek to Max is obviously the intro, the into the animation. Was that always, obviously wasn't always the case as the story you're telling now, but as you guys got closer to actually doing it, because all it really is a shot, you paint Max out, you put Kellen in, and then you go from there, and then everything else after that is obviously painted out, everything, blah, blah, blah. What was that like? Was that like a deadline? Was that like a, what are we gonna do?
yeah, it was because it all because of Goofy. Who were we going to get for Goofy? And we had no idea
Right.
how to reach out to Bill Farmer. And we were like, okay, let's just have the cartoon version of Goofy still in it. That's the only thing we could think that was worthy
Because
enough.
it really works. It
Yeah,
works at the end of the day. It really pulls the whole piece together. Because then it's like it like sprinkles out, and you're like, because if you watch it and you're like, wait a second, this matches this, because it all like fades in, and I'm just like, wait, that matches this matches this, and then obviously the picture in picture pops up, and you're just like, wait, this is insane. And then the more you watch it, you're like, wait, this all matches. Then you pause it, you pause it. It's crazy.
yeah,
So we're all the way up to the second Goofy movie one, right?
yeah. And we had at the convention, we told him, we're like, we wanted you to be Goofy, and he told us, he's like, well, I would have done it, and in his
Oh,
super jovial way. And I kind of
right,
thought at the time, right, it's already over. Of course I would say like, well, I would have done it. Oh, not really, but it's over now.
right,
So,
right,
and so I didn't know how genuine he was. Then
right,
we were thinking about doing Lester's, and I had got into 3D modeling and animation by that point. So
right.
looking at Lester's, because I still rewatch it every year, the full movie,
Oh,
I
it's a
was
good
like,
movie.
it'd be fun to animate those animatronics.
Right. By the
And
way, I don't know how you feel about it, but like I've seen it a few times since then because obviously for this, it holds up. You did a good
yeah,
job.
oh,
It's
thank you.
funny.
That
It's
was
funny.
that's like my first 3D animation stuff.
For real?
Yeah, like that's
Wow.
what that's what really gave me the experience of 3D animating.
Mm.
And I kind of cheated. There's no like you would rig a character and put bones
Right.
inside,
You do it
and
from scratch, right?
what but with since they're all robots, I just animated the rotations and
So
everything.
is it keyframing? Is it a lot of keyframing?
It's a lot
Okay.
of keyframing.
That's gotta
Um
be. What's the rendering? We'll get there, but what's the rendering process? Because I know, like when I'm doing videos, like sometimes it takes an hour to render an interview, or if I have, like, if when I was doing a lot of the heavy green screening stuff, 3 hours to do a literally a scene of like a ray of particles, 3 hours for 3 seconds of a sec of a thing. Where, that's it. 3 hours, three
so
effing hours, man.
so it would take one frame 40 minutes.
How many frames are in
I
Lester's?
I don't know, but I can't remember the exact number,
It's a
but it's
lot, right?
24 frames a second,
For right,
and for 3 minutes. And so it had got to the point that I just started messaging friends and was like, can I borrow your computer for the night? And I
right.
had like 5 or 6 computers on my kitchen table, just networking and chugging along. And I just leave it overnight. And then I'd like give it back to my roommate or whatever, like,
That's crazy.
um, but so it took a while for that to render out, but I was very pleased with the result. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
It
so
looks great and it works because you could do, I tell people, you do a project, the audio could sound crappy. The video looks great. The video looks crappy. The audio sounds great. If you have one solid piece in there, it will make the whole piece come together and you kind of forget what you're looking at. But the things that you've been doing for the last, my math is off.
15 years.
That's a weird
16?
number.
Yeah.
They progress, but you've never, you know what I mean? Like After Today Live was just such a groundbreaking piece of an art form that you've now been able to do for 15 years. And then, like seeing the car come up and then pull up, and obviously the audio from the movie really, like I said, the audio pulls it all together. And then obviously you having, but we're getting there. You have who's the director of the movie? Remind me. He's in there.
No, yeah, we filmed in his garage. We filmed his stuff in his garage.
Lima.
Kevin Lima.
I saw the name spelled out. I was like, okay. So you have not one, not two. You have three people that were involved with a Goofy movie. You have the director. You've got Bill Goofy Farmer and Jason Max Goof Marsden, all participating. Now, Bill and Jason, obviously the same day, because they're in scenes. They have to walk in together. Lima, how did that happen?
When we had met Bill Farmer and his wife, they had gave us their card, their personal card. And so when we were finally doing Lester's years later, we were just able to reach out with a direct phone number. So that was easy. And then we kind of tossed around the idea with them and said, hey, what if Jason came and played Max? And they were like, that'd be a great idea. He lives in the the Midwest. And they're like, here's his phone number. And it was like, what? And so called him up directly, and he was like, this sounds great. Like, I'd love to come and do it too. Both of them were just very willing to do it. And so at that point, we were also like brainstorming with those two and said, well, what about getting Kevin Lima to be the Lester MC? And they were both like, yes, let's do it. And so they had given me the email for him. Well, actually, with Kevin, we had gotten his email address way back with After Today. Animation World Magazine interviewed us, and the interviewer was good friends with Kevin Lima, and so he's like, I'm going to reach out to Kevin Lima, get his thoughts on this, and so then put us in contact with each other way back then. So I had reached out through the same email address, and Kevin was like, yeah, but I'm not going to come to Phoenix. And we were like, we're willing to come to your house. Like, and he was like, yeah, sure. If you could just squeeze in on a Saturday morning, you could come up. And so we flew into San Fran that morning, got an Uber to his house, filmed him that morning in his garage, set up our green screen and our lights, and, flew home that same day.
Around for each of the ones that we've talked about. So from beginning to end for After Today was how long? Roughly.
Yeah, like 6 months.
And then the second one?
With Gitchy Gitchy Goo, it was probably shorter. I'd probably say 3 months, maybe 4. But you're right. Each one was shorter. Then Busted was even shorter. And then Lester's was probably roughly the same time. I think it was a month and a half, but it was mostly like building the 3D models, and animating them, and then letting them render.
That sucks.
Which took the longest.
Rendering, for people that don't know, is just a pain in the butt. It takes forever. It looks nice at the end, but then sometimes you get the glitch. Something happens, your software's old, whatever, you glitch. You got to go back and do it all over again. Like, make your notes, make your, what played through. There's things on YouTube that I have that I'm just like, look, it happens. Like, there's a green screen glitch where like my background turned green. Not that it was like the green that would happen. It was like one of those like flashes of green. And I'm like, hey, whatever, it happens. But like everything that you guys have put out, you and your brother and whoever else is on the projects, have always been top notch, because it's always what you've done times 10, what you've done times 10. And that was the last one you did, right?
Those Lesters, yeah.
So
Le-
go ahead.
I mean, yeah, like, and I'm personally, I am afraid to do like another one because I don't want it to. I am a perfectionist.
Right.
So I don't want to do something like mediocre or less good than the last one. And
Right.
so it is like, okay, well, how do we top ourselves again?
Have you had conversations since the last one?
We I would love to do
Go ahead.
Schoolhouse Rock,
Oh,
which yeah,
heck
like
yeah.
it started in the late 70s, carried all
Right.
the way into the 90s.
You could hopefully get in touch because now I'm just thinking about this now. You could get in touch with the Schoolhouse Rock people if they're still doing content and be like, hey, what can we do to modernize it? What can we do to be like, hey, this is the old one? Like throw like a little like the thing you did with Goofy kissing Max, like do something like that and then pop it into like modern times and then make educational videos going forward and doing sporadically a couple of those a year.
And like
So
the Schoolhouse Rock videos still have their worth. Like they still educate. They still like
oh
that's how I learned the preamble.
right.
Like the We the People. Yeah, like it's still
Yeah.
in my head. That's really my goal is that everything I want to be involved with, I want it to last the test of time. I want people to still be watching it years later.
I think you're there already. After Today Live still holds up. You could use that in your film classes. Like and I said this earlier, but like your video is literally a introduction to guerrilla filmmaking at its finest.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing video editing and all that, filmmaking and all that stuff, what would you be doing now?
I went to school for business management and
Wow.
I probably would be doing just managing people on some team, probably in a financial building.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't know if I'd have as much enjoyment out of life. I would love to go work for Pixar and just help iron out their stories. I feel that their last like 7 or 10 movies besides Coco. Coco is amazing. But
Okay.
a lot of them I just feel like are just kind of get them out the door. Like they don't
Right.
care as much anymore. And I would love to leave the college, the education scene, and more go into that.
Okay.
But I'd also be content with just staying in education for a while. You meet so many great people here, and I mean, I'm sure you'd meet great people at Pixar or whatever, wherever.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right, so we'll wrap this up for you. Ted, look at the. I'm going to do this like they do on Hot Ones. Ted, look at the camera. Tell me what you're working on and where we can find you and what's up next.
Yeah. Ted here. Doing just stuff on YouTube is where you can find my stuff. You don't make stuff until it's like a really good idea. You can find me even just tedsowards.com.
Well, Ted, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I have a lot of editing to do. Trust me. And thank you again.
Thank you for letting me come by, Cory.
Absolutely.